Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome from the team of Embrace. Still, people are admitting, so we will start now. To start with, we have to tell about our Embrace a bit. So, what is Embrace? Who we are, what we are doing, what are the services offered? Here is a go for that. So, it's an open community. Embrace was started as an open community for mothers by mothers. Vision is to form a supporting community that offers services and knowledge base to parents and children with special needs in an efficient manner. We are a team of special educators, counselors, psychologists, ABA therapists, occupational therapists, and many professionals as volunteers. Then, what we do? Services offered is like we offer free counseling services for the parents with special need and webinars to parents and professionals and resources and information to the parents with the special need children. So now we will move on to the our speaker of the day today. Uh, Good afternoon, sir. Introduction of the speaker. This is Mr. Jitendra P.S. Solanki, is a SEBI registered investment advisor based at Ghaziabad. He is a certified financial planner and a chartered estate planner. He is a postgraduate from IIT Roorkee and has 7 years of experience in financial planning. He started his financial planning practice in 2010. Since then, advising families with special needs dependent has been his focus. Married to a doctor, a disability expert, Jitender, a frequent writer, and has authored a book, Financial Planning for Families Having Children with Special Needs. He is a speaker at public forums, share his views and wisdom, especially on planning for families with special needs dependents through various media groups and TV channels. Thank you for your time, sir, and over to you.
Thank you. Many thanks for providing me this opportunity. Uh, a warm welcome to all the participants on this presentation. So, what I am going to present today is a very important aspect and very important element planning for your special needs child future. So, without wasting my time, I think I'll uh, share the present. Going to speak on the presentation. Any question? I will request that at the end of the presentation we can take up all the questions. Uh,
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. They can't hear you. They are asking, can you be little louder? Can you please speak, take the mic towards your mouth and
okay, okay. I'll be little louder on that. Is it audible now?
yes, sir. Yes, it's audible. Yes, fine, sir. They are fine with that now. Yes, thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. You can see my screen, the presentation.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. Ah, a bit about me, though much of it has been spoken. So, Plan Special Needs, I just will give you a brief. So, it's an organization we have formed which caters specifically to special needs children families, and through this organization, we plan out comprehensively for families on their financial and legal aspects. This is the book which I have written, Financial Planning for Families Having Children with children with special needs. You will find it on Amazon and other online portals. Plus, also if you visit planspecialneeds.com, then you will find the link to the book there. So what is the objective of our session today? We'll understand special needs financial planning. Now today is mainly to understand the financial aspect. We are going to do another webinar where we will take up estate planning, because will, trust or all other legal aspects require almost more than 1 hour to explain you. So we'll understand what is special needs financial planning. Five building blocks. What are those 5 building blocks on which your financial planning is going to be based on? So before we move ahead, first of all, if you are not planning, then what is the risk which can come up, which you can arise, which you foresee? First of all, uh, this is the most important aspect, that upon your death, certain unwanted decisions, they would be made for your family by others. When by others I mean, if you are not planning for it, probably the law will plan as per the law. And and the most important element of that is that appointment of guardian for children. So if you are not going to appoint the legal guardian for yourself, then the law will appoint. And how much of your estate your loved one will inherit and in what ratio. So how much of your money should to your child, should go to your other family members. If you are not deciding it, that then it's going to be decided by others. And what they decide or what the law says might not be is what you want. And when you do not have a plan in place, then how the guardian and trustees will cater to the financial and emotional needs of your child? Because you as a parent are aware about your child requirements, but the next guardian, the legal guardian after you, or the trustees, if the trust is formed, they might not be aware of your child needs. Then how they are going to plan for the future? And lastly, if you are not doing financial planning, the money might just fall short. You might see that the money your child needs for his financial requirement, the money might just run out. So, and to mitigate this risk, special needs planning is important. Now, what exactly is special planning? So, your financial life plan, when you draw for your family, has to cater to 3 requirements. It has There has to be a plan for special needs child future. There has to be a plan for your own retirement, and there has to be a plan for sibling future. So if a child has siblings, there has to be a plan for his future. So your life plan for your family, your future plan for your family should uh, revolve around all these 3 plannings, and so it should include all these 3 financial requirements. Now, what is special needs planning? It's a roadmap where we integrate the traditional planning with our family unique
And we
requirements.
can't
Now,
see
what
your
is traditional planning?
presentation.
Buying a
Sorry to
house,
interrupt you,
buying.
sir. Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Indu here.
Yeah,
Sir, they are complaining of
yeah.
not audible. You are not audible clearly.
And the presentation is also not being shared.
Sir, you have to pin the presentation. I said go to the people. You will find Mr. Jitendra Solanki. There are 2 things. One is presentation and one is sir's this one. You have to pin it so that if anybody present also, it will be seen on your screen. Sorry for the interruption, sir.
Am I
Sorry.
audible now?
I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Am I
Yes,
audible now?
people. Is
Okay.
sir audible now?
Yes, yes,
I think.
yes.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
yes, sir. You are audible now.
Okay. Okay. So I was talking on special needs planning. It's a roadmap where you integrate your traditional planning with unique requirement of a special needs family. Now, traditional planning is like buying a house, buying a car, planning for your
Sir,
retirement.
sir, please present again. Sorry to. Sir, please
Present
present.
again.
You are present. Somebody else presented in between. Can you please present again? Your screen share. You need to
Excuse me,
share your screen share.
you have to go, it's presenting. You have to go to the people list. There you can find Mr. Jitendra Solanki. There are two thing. One is slide. You pin on that slide. It will be seen in your screen, please. He's already presenting. You have to pin that slide. If somebody presents also, that's what I said in the beginning. You have to pin it. Okay.
Yes, yes, madam. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, sir. Please.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So, on that, when we are talking on special needs planning, what exactly it is? There is a traditional planning like buying a house, buying a car, or any other goals. We call them a traditional planning, and there is a unique requirement of yours having a special needs child. So when you are planning for your future, you have to prepare both this plan and integration of these planning. Complete your special needs planning, complete a comprehensive planning for your family. And the special needs planning, all your financial and legal strategies which you prepare, which your family requires, they have to integrate your financial and legal strategy has to integrate your special needs child requirement. So when this integration of traditional planning and special needs child planning happens, then you are planning comprehensive for your family. And formation of will, trust, legal guardianship, these are very, very important, in fact, the most important element of your planning. And lastly, when you prepare a special needs plan, when you prepare a financial plan, you actually define your vision for your child and for your other family members. So, what is your vision? What do you want? So, when you are doing a financial planning, you are actually laying down the roadmap, which means this is what you want for your child. Just to give you a brief, we all hear about financial planning. Today's lot of media coverage is there. You will find financial planners. So financial planning is not a product which comes to you. It's basically a process and which is very dynamic in the sense that it can accommodate whatever changes are coming in your finance in your life. So it's a dynamic process where today you are preparing for your life goals which you have to achieve in the future, and for which management of your resources, management of your finances, you are managing them efficiently. So financial planning is actually a process which you are laying down for management of your finances, and the main objective is that you have to achieve financial security for you, your child, and your family. So what are the elements of financial planning? Uh, this is what is covered in the financial planning. When we prepare a financial plan, when we do financial planning for your family, these are the elements which needs to be covered. The cash and debt management, so cash flows, what's going in, what's coming out, debt management, all your loans, how you're managing it, income tax planning, not only on the income you earn, but the investment you are doing, education, childcare funding strategies, retirement planning, employee benefit plan analysis. So all salaried individuals who get employee benefit. So the employer benefit you get, how you can maximize that. So employee benefit plan analysis, insurance and risk management, how you should prepare for eventualities of life, how you should go about managing your investment risk, asset allocation and investment management, because you're going to accumulate money in the future. So what asset allocation strategies you should follow, where you should invest your money, estate planning and strategy, the legal framework, what framework should you plan for your child's future. If you run a business, the succession planning of your business, who is going to succeed in what manner, and the special needs planning, that is planning for your special needs child future. These are the elements of financial planning. So whenever you are doing a financial planning, all these elements should be covered. And if you can see, if any of these elements is left out, probably the planning is not complete. How you can do financial planning in 6 steps? We have designed the 6-step process that if I follow this 6 step, I can prepare my comprehensive plan. First is goal setting. First, you need to set your goals, whether it's buying a car, buying a house, your retirement, or any other aspect of your life which will require money, where monetary angle is involved, you need to set that goal. So the goal setting is the first aspect. The second is then once you set all your goals, when you identify that these are my life goals, you analyze your current financial situation. So where do you stand today now? What are your cash flows now? How your investments or how your insurance planning is now? Do you have adequate insurance? So you analyze your current financial situation, and then you analyze the pitfalls. What are the pitfalls? The gap between 1 and 2, the gap between the goals and the gap between your current financial situation. So to reach those goals, you need money, you need savings. Are your savings enough? Are your insurance enough? So you analyze the pitfalls. When you have analyzed the gap, you design strategies around it to fill that gap. So you design investment strategies, you design insurance strategies to prepare for the eventualities, and you design estate planning strategies to plan for your child's future. So you design strategies, and then once you have designed strategies, now your plan is ready. Then you implement the plan, and plan implementation means you make investment, you buy insurances. So you whatever you have strategies you have designed, you put those strategies into place. You implement the plan, and implementing the plan is your starting point. As I said, it's a process, and every process which you lay down for a long-term future has to be reviewed periodically, because you will face changes in your life situation. There are going to be changes in your life. So your financials might change. You're going to retire tomorrow, or even after 3 years, something might come up. So all these changes which can have a financial impact need to be accommodated in your financial planning, and your strategies need to be reviewed periodically. So this is a 6-step planning process which if you follow, you can actually prepare well for your financial future. Now going one by one, how do you do it? First of all, as I said, the first process was goal setting. Now, in a traditional goals, it's much easier, because we know that I have to buy a house after 5 years. I have to buy the children education, marriage is coming after a certain year. So traditional goals you can set, and how do you set it? In general cases, that I break down into short-term goal, medium-term goal, long-term goal. So anything which I have to buy next 1 to 2 years is my short-term goal. Anything which is there for next 3 to 5 years is my medium-term goal. Anything beyond 7 years is going to be my long-term goal. Similarly, you can set goals with your special child, because setting goals with special child is difficult. His requirement is lifelong and on a recurring basis. So the goal setting becomes difficult. But in a similar manner, the way you set traditional goals, you can set special child goals. So immediate expenses, that is from 1 to 3 year expenses, you can keep it in short term. Expenses up to 5 to 7 years, you can keep it in medium term. And any expenses, all those expenses which are beyond 7 years, you can make them long term. Or any other requirement which might come up in the future, maybe buying for special equipment, adjustment in your house, which might come up after say 10 years, you can put into long term. So the goal setting is very important, because this goal setting, through this goal setting, you are going to decide how you're going to make your investment, how you're going to accumulate money for that. Because every investment you do, every saving you do, the avenue has to match your goal horizon. So the goal setting is very important. And the next is analyze current financial situation. So what is your net worth? What are your assets, cash, investment, retirement? What are your liabilities, unsecured, secured loans you are running? So when you analyze your assets and liabilities, you actually come to know about your net worth, your difference between your asset liability and your net worth. And net worth is actually the parameter of monitoring your financial health. If you are doing financially well, your net worth should grow, because you are making contribution in your savings, you are accumulating assets. And if your net worth is falling, probably you have taken up more liabilities, or your income is not increasing the way you expected. So net worth is very important financial parameter for analyzing your financial health. Then cash flow, your income, your expenses, family and special child expenses. The difference of these is your savings. So cash flow analysis will give you how much you are saving and whether that saving is enough for your future goals or not. If not, where do you make adjustments? So analyzing your current financial situation tells you that the first goal setting you have done. Now with this, knowing about your savings, you come to know whether you can achieve those goals or not. Where is the gap? And as I said in the third step, then you analyze pitfall, you come to know where is the gap. Now these are the some common prominent gaps or pitfalls, as I say, which comes up in the financial situation. If regular savings might be insufficient, your insurance might be inadequate, current cash flow might be negative, uh, one parent might have to leave the job, so reducing your earnings from second two income, you might come to one income. The cash reserve might not be adequate. The asset allocation is not proper. Estate planning documentation is not done. So all these pitfalls you can analyze only when you have done the first two steps. You have done the goal setting and you have analyzed your current financial situation. And once you analyze the pitfalls, you actually design strategies. Now you know very well this is what I have to do. So I have to create an emergency funding because I do not have enough emergency reserves. I have to make my insurance adequate. So you go for buying life, health, and disability. Uh, you follow the investment strategy. You design in estate planning tools, and you start investing for goal accumulation. So you design strategies for meeting those pitfalls. And when you design strategies, you implement it. So when you implement it, invest for fund accumulation, you purchase adequate insurance, will and trust creation, appointing a guardian. So all these are implementation of your financial strategies which are needed to plan for you, your family, and your child's future. And you set a periodic review process. Now I am going to come to how do you check with child life stages. And at whatever life stage you are, you can keep initial frequency higher. So if your child is between 3 to 14 years of age, the expense is going to change frequently. So you can keep review frequency higher. If the child has moved to an adult phase, probably you can keep a frequency maybe once in half year. Here what I am showing is a quarterly review process. So you set up a quarterly review process that every quarter I am going to sit down, I am going to review what I have done, what planning I have done, and whether my implementation of plan, my strategies are working with my financial plan. So that's how you follow the financial planning process. Now I come to building blocks of special needs planning. These are 5 building blocks on which your comprehensive planning is based. Your complete planning for your family, which includes your special needs child, is based. The first is preparing a budget. Second is estimating lifetime cost. Third is setting of goals, setting the safety net, and retirement planning. These are the 5 building blocks of your family financial future. And the first one is preparing a budget. Budgeting is the basic of any financial planning. When you want to manage your finances efficiently, the budgeting is a most simple exercise, and probably most of the women who are not working, they always follow a budget. You see, they are uh, sitting down and writing down what the monthly groceries. And I think this is a simple budget form. You are following a budget, but how do you make it bring it when you have a special needs child? Because generally you follow a family budget. That this is what is coming and this is what is going out. With special child, you should create a separate budget for the special needs child. It's important because you should know what is being spent only on the special needs child, because you have to estimate what is the money I'm going to leave behind for my child, which is going to take care of his expenses for lifetime. Okay. You can see the Excel.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is a worksheet only for special monitoring special needs child expenses. This only monitors. Now, this is what we follow with all the family. So, what you have done, you have divided into 5 headings. One is living expenses, the day-to-day care, child personal needs, schooling costs, cost for special equipments and healthcare needs, and social and recreational. So you divide it. Living expenses would be house rent, utilities. Day-to-day care will be domestic help, driver expenses, or any other person needs food, outing, clothing, schooling costs, transportation, clothing, any coaching book, cost for special equipment today or tomorrow, wheelchair, eyeglasses, visual aid equipment, anything which is related to your special needs child requirement. Health needs, the doctor visits, therapy, medicine, transportation. Similarly, entertainment, vacations, and any miscellaneous where insurance premiums come. So you can see you are monitoring your special child expenses separately. And this becomes very important because it not only estimate your today's uh, uh, what is the money which you need today, but it is also going to estimate tomorrow. Plus, you also come to know that whether whatever expenses you are doing on child is within the limit or not. Because many a times we have seen the expenses for special needs child go to such a high range that at the end of the day your cash flow become negative. So if your cash flow become negative, you will not have any money to save for the future. This is a family expense worksheet. So fixed or variable expenses, living expenses, the way you manage for your family, groceries, domestic help, house, telephone, healthcare expenses, transportation, children expenses, their tuition fees, their extracurricular activities, all premium outgoes you are managing, EMI outgo you are managing, and discretionary expenses, basically expenses which are not fixed, entertainment, traveling, vacation, and end of the day special child expenses. This you have taken from his expense chart, and this is where you are going to manage what is the total family expenses. Ideally, both these expense chart you should manage it. Most of the families are managing it on the family expense side, but managing it only on the special needs child is very important. Include all formal expenses. So whatever expenses related to your special child, include it in this chart. If you are creating budget for the first time, you can start with some assumptions. You might not be knowing how much is spent on what item, especially the food, clothing. Start with some assumptions. Monitor it for few months, and then you will come to know near to accuracy that what is the money you are spending month on month. Accommodate changes in budget with the child life savings. When you are monitoring this budget, you can easily accommodate whatever changes is coming up. Tomorrow therapies might reduce, other expenses might increase. Okay, so you will be aware that where the changes are happening and how it is uh, having an impact on your savings. So that was budgeting, and both the budget, special child budget is very important. The second building block is estimating the lifetime cost. So if I have to ask a question that if you are not there tomorrow, what is the corpus you should leave behind for your child? How many of you are aware of? Do you know that this is the money I need to leave behind for the child? That can only happen if you know how do you estimate or if you have estimated the lifetime cost of your special needs child care. Now, how does it done? First of all, I identify all income sources, parents and special child income, your salary, business, rental, government schemes, if any benefit is being received, friends, family, relatives, and any other insurance benefits. So you identify all potential sources of income which are going to uh, come to child now in future, maybe directly to the child, or if the trust there is going to be trust, so coming directly to the trust. You identify all income sources, and then you identify the child expenses, only the child expenses. Now this is where budgeting only for special child is important because I need to estimate the lifetime cost. And this can only happen if I know what is being spent on child separately. So this expense chart is same which I have shown previously. Factors to consider include all probable expenses. If the child is minor, include future costs. If any expense is unclear, monitor it for few months. Account for inflation. Now this is an inflation. Why inflation is important? You need to account for a simple example. There 20,000 per month expense today will rise to 1.62 lakh per month in 30 years with a 7% inflation. So whatever you are spending on child is going to rise after 20 years, and you should be aware of. And that's where financial planning is important. That it tells you that after 20 years, whether your income support or all other support is going to be enough or not. Some assumptions we take when we estimate the lifetime cost. So life expectancy of special needs child, as you estimate for yourself, I might live by 85, 90. Similar way you estimate, you assume the life expectancy of child, income growth, how your income is going to grow, 7%, 8%, 9%. Inflation, what inflation you need to assume. Now with a special child, there are expenses where inflation would be general around 7%. So there are expenses where inflation is higher, 10%. The healthcare expenses, the schooling expenses. So you need to decide what inflation you want to assume. The rate of return on investment and taxes. We'll take up a case study to understand this. How do you estimate the lifetime cost? And this case study will help you understand exactly how we do it. So in this case, Vicky, 27 years old, is a special need adult. Gaurav wishes to estimate corpus required for his lifetime care. We assume that Vicky life expectancy is going to be near 70 years, and average inflation of 7% is assumed for increase in expenses year on year. And it's assumed that whatever corpus I leave behind, it can earn a return of 8%. Now this is a Vicky expenses today. So living expenses 10,000, day-to-day care. It's all those headings which I have shown in the expenses, and these are hypothetical figures. Monthly expenses, we assume that it's around 58,000, which is yearly expenses 6.96 lakh yearly. Now why we are taking it? Because parents want to assume that if they are not there today, so they are supporting the child, so the expenses are low. But when they won't be there, then expenses will increase, because you might hire professionals for the child care. And even if the child is shifted to an institution, the institution will have a monthly cost. And roughly around 40,000, 50,000 might be a cost today of institution within that range from 30,000 to 60,000. So this is the cost which you might incur. So let's assume his yearly expenses is 6.96 lakh. So there are two ways to identify this corpus you need to leave behind, or the amount of money you need. One is perpetual annuity method and one is inflation adjusted corpus. Now what is perpetual annuity method? Perpetual annuity means this income of 6.96 lakh, I need only this income to be generated for the child lifetime. So 6.96 lakh every year should be generated from the corpus. So if you can earn a return of 5% on the corpus, you need around 1.3 CR. So if you have a 1.3 CR corpus today, I can earn a 6.96 lakh income yearly for the child lifetime. So this is a very simple method to estimate the corpus, but it has some disadvantages.
Hello, sir. We lost you, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Here.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you. So I thought like we lost you or something. It's okay. Sorry, sir.
Okay.
Please continue.
So yeah. So I was talking on perpetual annuity, a simple method of finding out an income which is generated for lifelong of the child. So 6.96 lakh if I have to generate for the child lifetime, 27 years was the current age. If I take a 75 years, there is no a maximum age here, it's for lifetime. The 1.3 CR is the corpus required at 5%. Now this is a very simple matter. Why actually we are estimating the cost through this, why we are saying a perpetual annuity method does help you some math. First of all, it's the easiest method, a simple method. You don't have to do any math, a simple math involved. But inflation is not factored in. ये 6.96 लाख का है for expenses, ये 10 साल के बाद बढ़ जाएगा. That is not I have factored in this. But you can treat it as the bare minimum corpus required. We are calculating corporate annuity methods also for the families, saying that this is the bare minimum required. Anything below this won't help your child financially. But if you are following this method, it has to be reviewed every 3-4 years to factor in the inflation. And this method just helps you avoid facing a huge shortfall. As I said, simplest method, inflation is not factored in, but this is the bare minimum corpus. You cannot expect anything below than this for your special child. The second is the lifetime corpus for lifetime care, actually based on the inflation. So if you see this chart, 6.96 lakh is the yearly expense, age today 70, life expectancy here assume 70. So we are calculating a corpus which can sustain for 43 years of expenses. Inflation 7%, expected growth 8% of the corpus. So the total corpus required today by Gaurav is 2.47 CR. There you saw perpetual annuity was 1.3 CR, simple method. But this is the money he require actually, the parent require actually to for Vicky's lifetime care. So if Gaurav has 2.47 crore corpus today, money it will take care of 43 years of lifetime expenses for Vicky. Now, so what are the factors to consider? Life expectancy, it can be higher or lower. So here we assume 70, it might go up to 75 or it might be lower 60. So life expectancy is something you assume and you generally revise it when you are revising the plan. Difficult to estimate expenses in the early years. It was easier here because the child is already an adult, so expenses somewhat become constant. But the similar calculation if you do when the child is in the minority, it's very difficult to estimate accurate expenses because they are changing drastically. Inflation for special needs child is higher. We assume only 7% inflation. I can take 8% also, or I can assume different inflation for different expenses. So the inflation is also going to matter. And investment returns are variable. Here we assume 8% return may be achieved easily, but your returns from most of the instruments are variable today. So even PPF or small savings scheme, no more interest is paid. It's vary every year. So all these are assumptions. Why I say financial planning is not a one-time exercise. You have to review it periodically. Any of these factors changes, you need to revise the plan, you need to revise the numbers and see where do you stand today again. So you need to set, and that's why the review periodic monitoring is important. So that was how you estimate the lifetime cost, and these two methods help you in keeping yourself where you know what is the actual requirement and you also know how much you accumulated. So you very well would be aware of what is the gap in meeting your special child financial requirements. The third building block is setting goals. Though I have, as I said, you measure traditional goals like short-term car, medium-term house, long-term child education, marriage and retirement. Special needs child goals is similar. You can set immediate expenses, short-term expenses up to 5 to 7 years, keep it medium-term, expenses beyond 7 years, long-term. Why this is important? Because in all of these three differentiation, immediate expenses or short-term, medium-term, long-term, your investment avenue is going to be different. Immediate expenses for next 3 years, I cannot keep in equity market or which is very volatile. I'll rather keep it in fixed deposit. But the money which is there, I require only after 7 to 10 years. or 15 years I can keep it in PPF, I can keep it in long-term instrument. So your investment instrument will be different, and that's why setting goals is very, very important. And add up any additional support which you require, you monetize it, you know the monetary requirements for it. And this is one of the ways, probably our basis of planning, that if you know your child life stages, you can actually identify your requirements, your goals. Now if you look at here what we have done, we have divided child life stages into 5 stages. Stage 1 is minority, stage 2 is adult living at home, stage adult external living environment when the child moves to an institution, stage 4 first parent death, stage 5 second parent death, and then end of child life, complete child lifetime. So when you draw this timeline, you can actually identify at what stages I am today. So what is going to happen in the future? So if you are still at stage 1, there is a lot of planning has to be done, because when the child is an adult living at home, probably he is moving to an adult phase, say 18 years of age, you will have to plan for services support, employment, social recreation, guardianship, residential needs. If you are forming a private trust, who are the trustees, college funding, child care. Similarly, if you move to an external living environment, then you will have to plan for, maybe you are reaching a retirement stage, the child adaptability, residential facilities, financial support. First parent death, the will come into picture, the probate of will have to come. Trust administration is formed, the trust.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Somebody has muted him, Indu.
Oh my God. Ma'am, we can't unmute. You only have to. Hello, sir. Sir, you are on mute. Hello. Hello.
Unmuted him. I didn't got a. Hello. You can hear me
Hello,
now?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are
Hello.
on mute, actually. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Oh, but I didn't.
Sorry,
Okay,
sorry for that, sir. Sorry.
no problem. Where was I? Okay, life stage. I was talking about life stage. Right. So this is the timeline where, which is basis of the financial planning. Uh, Wherever we are doing financial planning, we are creating this timeline to help you understand, and also help you understand that what is that which is coming up in the future, what is the areas you need to plan, what are the areas which have been left behind. This timeline is very important, and this can become the basis of even setting your life goals, because you know where the pressure points or where the data. Now the next building block is the safety net. The safety net which you create for yourself and for your special child. And the first one is the health insurance. Now, first you need to cover yourself adequately, because being a parent of a special child, anything which can impact financially, you need to cover it with an adequate provision. And health insurance, health emergencies, these are kind of expenses which just drags you years behind if you are not, if you haven't covered you adequately. So you need to first cover yourself adequately. And salaried individuals need to you should understand that employer insurance is not enough. You need to have an adequate insurance. Now, what is the definition of adequate insurance? The city you live in, what are the hospital costs, and you come to know generally on all the media today the cost of treatment of hospitals are coming out. So you very well know what is the cost of the hospitalization. So you need to look at from that perspective and cover yourself adequately. For special needs child, still there are many limitations today. Not all companies are covering it. In fact, companies are not covering special needs child at all. There has been a beginning which has been made. Some insurance companies have come up for covering special need child, but again there are limitations in that also. So you need to create a health fund for your child. You need to create a health fund so that it can take care of health emergencies. So that was on health insurance. Life insurance, identify your actual financial requirement. I'm going to speak on the product side maybe at the end of the presentation when we are getting to it. So I'll speak on some of the products which are available uh, and what are the limitations for special child requirements. Life insurance, identify your actual financial requirement. There are thumb rules which are made, which you might come up, any insurance agent might tell you that, okay, buy 10 times of insurance, 20 times of your income. No, don't follow that. Identify your actual financial requirement, and your life insurance should cover lifetime care cost of your special needs child. Here, life insurance, when I talk about, I am only talking and uh, putting only term insurance, only the risk cover, because you need a high insurance coverage which can fill the gap for your special child. For Gaurav, 2.4 crore was the requirement. Now, if Gaurav don't have that money today, he's going to accumulate in the future. Now, in the future, this requirement will increase. What he can do to get this 2.5 crore, uh, life insurance is one product which helps you to fill this gap. You can buy high insurance coverage, and in your absence, the life insurance proceeds can fill the financial requirement. So, and for that, you need to avail only term insurance. Any other product is going to be too costly to buy. Both parents need life insurance cover. Even if one parent is taking care of 24/7, has is not working, he or he requires a life insurance coverage, because in her absence, the cost of care is going to increase. As of now, one of the parents takes care 24/7, and you can think of, if that parent is not there, the cost of care is going to be increased. So the financial implications are there, and that's why both parents need life insurance coverage, not only the earning member. Though it's a concept that only the earning member takes a life insurance coverage, but in case of special child families, both parents need adequate life insurance coverage. Special policies, life insurance policies are not available today, and life insurance is a very important estate for instant funding of the trust after you. When I say instant funding means, in the case of Gaurav, if he has to fund the childcare cost, something happens to the Gaurav today, where this 2.4 CR can come. If he suppose had only 50 lakhs, then this gap is fulfilled by the life insurance coverage. He buy a life insurance 1.5 CR, that is going to fill this gap. So it becomes a very important estate for instant funding of the child care after you. So how do you identify the life insurance coverage? There are two elements. One, immediate corpus required, emergency reserves, paying of loans and liabilities, cover legal expenses, generate lifetime income, monthly expenses, regular expenses for hiring professionals for child care, fees for guardianship, legal and other professionals. Now that is an immediate corpus. Future requirement, child care for older age of surviving spouse, retirement expenses for surviving spouse, if sibling, then expenses for his or her education and marriage, cost of house purchase if child with disability is going to live separately. That's why I said that a life insurance has to have one actual financial requirement, not a thumb rule, not bought on the basis of thumb rule. You need to actually work out this, how much money your family will require if you are not there, you are the only earning member. So you need to buy that right amount of life insurance coverage which can fulfill all these requirements. The third is disability insurance. Now, this is not special child disability, but if the earning parent is temporary or permanently disabled due to any mishappening, then where the financial requirements will be fulfilled, because life insurance won't come into picture. That's a risk coverage for death. But what happens in these situations? So that's where you need to have disability insurance, and it has an option of monthly payout or a lump sum payout. Life, health, disability are the three important safety nets for any family, especially for special children families. Life, health, and disability has to be adequate insurance coverage. Other insurances based on your requirement, home, car, or business, you can look up at these insurances. But as I said, life, health, disability are the topmost priority. This should be adequate. You should be adequately covered for. And any other financial loss, probably it needs to be covered with an adequate insurance. The next one is investment planning. So investment planning, again, when you are making investment also it has to be planned properly. How do you do investment planning? It's not about just finding out an investment product and just investing straight away. You need to have a personal risk assessment. You are able, or how much you can tolerate, how much risk you can tolerate, the volatility you see in your investment, how much you can tolerate. So you have to set your own risk assessment. You have to prepare an investment policy. What is an individual investment policy is the guidelines I would follow for my investment. So long term I am going to do this. Short term I am not going to touch equity. Long term I am going to invest in equity. So your own investment policy. Asset allocation strategies. How much you should invest in which asset class? You can't invest 100% in equity. You can't invest 100% in debt. You can't invest more in gold. So what is the asset allocation strategy I should follow, which should align with my personal risk assessment? If I feel I shouldn't be investing more than 40% into equities, then my asset allocation strategies should be aligned with that. That there should not be higher volatility in my investment. So investment planning also has to be done with your planning. It has to be done, a proper planning has to be done, not an ad hoc investment. Shouldn't be buying any product which has just come to you based on, there are many emotional aspects which comes in when you are buying any investment. I think investment planning, do it in a proper manner. Okay, this is the basis of your investment planning, goal setting. This goal setting tells you what is your horizon of making those investments. Medium term, long term, asset allocation start long term. If it's a short term, you put in fixed deposits. You're not going to put in the same asset allocation for short term and long term. Generally, it's advisable as like bucket investment strategy. Form buckets for your financial requirements. So regular income for first 2 years, it's a bucket 1. Income requirement for 3 to 5 years is a bucket 2. Income requirement for 6 to 10 years for bucket 3. Bucket 4, investment requirement for post 10 years. And any lump sum fund for any unexpected planned expenses is bucket 5. Now you know very well what is the horizon, so you can plan out your investment. So my bucket 1 will be always liquid investment, no volatile investment. My bucket 2 will be moderate. I can put something. Bucket 3 will be again moderate growth income investment because I need income requirements for 6 to 10 years. Post 10 years, I can go with growth investment. I can put something more into equities, something into gold, something into debt, so I can plan it out. Bucket 5 again mostly liquid because this is an emergency fund. So you can create different buckets. You can keep on adding buckets as per your requirement and plan out investment accordingly. So your investment planning also has to align with your goal setting. Now, this is the last building block, and that is retirement planning. When you are doing retirement planning, it has to cover 4 elements. First, parents' retirement. Your own retirement has to be planned. Special needs dependent expenses. Your special needs child expenses has to be planned. Residential needs has to be thought about for your child. Where he's going to stay. Is he going to stay in the same house, the same city? Is he going to shift anywhere else? So it has to be planned and savings required. Now these are the 4 elements of your retirement planning. Identify the corpus needed at retirement. Now, what is the method? The method is a similar way we have identified the adjusted corpus for Gaurav's son. You are not identifying today, you are identifying what the money I will require at my retirement, which can be after 15 years, which can be after 20 years, 25 years. So identify the corpus, what you will need at retirement for your complete post-retirement years, and add your special child expenses corpus in your retirement. So for a special child family, your retirement needs, there are two purposes to be planned. One corpus for on yours, you and your wife, and the second corpus is for the special child. Evaluate probabilities of any shortfall. What happens if you are not able to meet retirement? What can be the probability? Now, if you find a probability, what can be the solution? You might have to adjust today's cash flows if needed. If you find there is any shortfall, you have to adjust today's cash flows and save more for retirement. Prepare yourself for more working years. Maximize employer retirement benefits. If you have retirement benefits, you are a salaried individual or special children families, maximizing employer retirement benefits is really good. Benefit to provident fund, NPS, gratuity. If you are maximized, it can reduce, it can optimize your own resources. Evaluate the support after retirement. So what support you are going to get after retirement? Financially, non-financially, you need to evaluate today. This is not only the financial requirement you are evaluating, because if you are getting any support non-financially also from somewhere, it will reduce your financial requirement. So you need to evaluate what support you are going to get, what you can expect. Based on that, you can plan your retirement. Evaluate residential needs of the child, where the child is going to stay. If he's going to stay in the same house, you might have to hire professionals to manage his care. Then the needs is going to be different. If the child is going to shift to an institution, the needs are going to be different. So evaluate where. We have seen families who have relocated to a different cities. So suppose you're living in metro, Mumbai, Delhi. Post-retirement years, you're not able to manage expenses. There are special child expenses also. So you plan out to shift to another city. So you need to evaluate probabilities of relocation also, whether it's going to happen or not. So that's how you plan your retirement. There has to be a strategy. There has to be a defined goals. And when you are planning your retirement years, you need to cover all these elements. You need to think on all these. What after you? So what happens after you? There are four options. Child, either you can leave all the money to the child directly and managed by the legal guardian, or you can leave the money to the family members who will manage the child. You can form a trust and leave the legacy to the trust, or you can leave the money to the institution. Now these are four options available for us after you. Which of these suits your requirement? Which is the best? You need to analyze on all the aspects. There are pros and cons of all these aspects. Which suits best your family requirement, and then you can plan. So completing an estate plan, identifying child residential needs, writing a will, appointing future guardian. Today you are the guardian. Tomorrow who is going to be the guardian? The person who will make decisions on your child's behalf. You need to appoint. Creating a trust for your child, obtaining legal guardianship when necessary. So parents are legal guardian only up till 18 years of age, natural guardian. Once the child turns 18, you have to obtain the legal guardianship and write a content. Now these are estate planning tools which we are going to cover in another webinar, because these require a detailed discussion. So we are going to cover them, but these are the tools of estate planning when you are doing special needs financial planning. And when I'm saying all the financial and legal strategies has to be well. Now these are the elements of your legal strategy for your special plan, which has to be implemented. So special needs planning approach, whenever you are planning for your financial, for your family future, take a special needs planning approach. Do not make ad hoc decisions. What is that? Address issues. Now how do you address issues? How do you identify? The timeline which I have shown previously. That's the basis of knowing what all issues I have to address in the future. Identify your own resources. What are the resources available today? Estimate the cost for all your financial requirements. Choose professionals. If you cannot plan it out, choose the right professionals. Create the plan today. Execute the legal plan. You know very well this is a legal plan needs to be done. But if you are not executing it, it's only on paper. Execute the planning. Prepare a letter of intent. The first document any family with a special needs child should prepare a letter of intent. So just to give you a letter of intent, so I just asked two questions that if you have to leave your child to a neighbor for 4 hours, what instruction you can give to that neighbor? Increase it to 48 hours, what instruction you will give? Your instruction list will increase. Now, if you have to leave your child to somebody else for the lifetime, what instruction you will give? Probably you will tell him everything about your child, his habits, his sleeping, his care, what they should do, what it doesn't work, what they should be doing in all these situations, who are the professional to contact. Now, that's an letter of intent is a document which provides all this information to the next legal guardian or to the people who is going to be involved in your child care. And that's why it becomes such an important document, because as a parent you know everything. And even we have seen the between the parent who is working and parent who is taking care of 24/7. The parent who is working does not know as much as uh, for the child as much as the parent who is taking care of 24/7. If you prepare a letter of intent, it helps you immensely in providing that information and monitor and update plan. So this is a special need planning approach. Don't do ad hoc planning, but take a special need planning approach. Go step by step, and you will be able to create a proper plan for your child's future. I'll talk about some golden rules. 10 golden rules. I'm just coming to the end of my presentation. So incorporate child personal needs in the financial plan. Incorporate everything: his living arrangement, his education program, employment, daily activities. Review the plans periodically. Where will the child live? This question is important. It should be included in the financial plan. High stability in professional career. Do not give assets to the child directly. Though you have an option, but avoid giving assets to the child directly or leaving assets to the child directly through will is not a advisable solution. Discuss with your loved ones on what needs to be done if you die early. So discuss with near people who will be involved in your child care. Form your will and form the trust if the trust has to be formed. Write a letter of intent. Take educate life and health insurance. Identify how much you need and take educate life health insurance. And seek professional help, but do not leave anything unplanned. If you do not have an expertise, seek a professional help, but do not leave it unplanned. Mistakes to avoid. These mistakes we have seen from the families. Child disability in insurance scheme. This is one of the biggest mistakes we have seen, where insurance is the child is covered in the health insurance, but if disability is not, that shouldn't happen. You should disclose your child's situation very clearly and leave it to the company to decide whether they will cover the child or not. Not for contingencies. You might plan for everything, but for contingencies you need to plan. So what happens after you? That question needs to be answered, and legal framework needs to be planned. Not planning for own incapacity to work. So if you have in the family only one parent who is working, so if he is not able to work tomorrow, then what? So you need to plan for those situations also. Failure to plan for long-term care expenses. The way we have seen lifetime cost estimations, we need to plan for those long-term care expenses. Planning everything to will. Will is not a solution for special children families. You need will is a starting point. You have lot many other estate planning elements to be covered. You need to cover all those. Again, wherever trust has to be created, create it today. Let the legal framework be implemented today. Estate document, when you prepare will also, it needs to be reviewed periodically. Trustees, executors, choices, failure to communicate child needs with key people. People who are going to be involved with your child care. you need to communicate with them and educate funding of the trust. So if you form a trust, it has to be funded with the right finances. Even if you are leaving the child finances to the legal guardian, you need to provide for those finances. So you need to plan for educate funding for your child care. So summary of okay. Now this is what we are doing. So we create that roadmap which I have spoken about, where the families are planning to do solutions, and we monitor it periodically. We help families in estate planning also. We are creating an estate plan for families, build trust, letter of families in drafting that. We are managing assets for our clients also, who have got a special child. Uh, we are very soon coming up with professional trusteeship where you can point us as a professional trustee. And within our resources, we support families in addressing non-financial aspects of life also. End-to-end solution for the families, and we are helping families. We are bringing up an ecosystem for the families also, where the question of what after us can be answered. It's not only about finding an institution, but institution, legal guardian, private trust, and the support system. All four have to be coordinated well to actually care for the child, for the lifelong managing the lifelong care. Now, this doesn't happen in current environment. If you have formed a trust, and if trust is not coordinating with legal guardians or institution, then it's there will always be gaps. So that ecosystem we are coming up with the professional certificate services. So this is what we are doing. This is a life plan system we have created, where if you look at, we have covered largely the elements which I have spoken about. So there is a life care plan where the personal and social needs, your preparedness, your awareness, we work on. The child life stages will help you understand that the timeline we have given. Child transition plan, so there will be transition stages. Minor to adult, home to external environment, moving to other states, moving to other countries. So what are the issues to address? How do you address? There is a financial plan, there is a legal plan we prepare, the benefit plan, understanding all the benefits which is you receive today, which are going to come up in the future, and the communication plan. So all these our PSL life plan system work on all these 6 elements, where we largely cover what you need to do for your special needs. So our vision, we started some 5 years back, and today and tomorrow we want to be the most trusted planner in this country. We are bringing up more solutions for the family, uh, helping them out in preparing well for their future. This contact details will be sending it. Okay. So this is, I am done with my presentation. So now we can take up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So it's a question Q&A session. You can, participants, you can start posting your questions here. Sir, I'll read out few questions. One of the first question is like,
Yeah,
they have asked, what about the pension for this children, CWSN? Like they just want to know how about the pension plans for
the
them?
pension. Okay, there are pension plan available. So LIC recent a year back launched a product Jeevan Shanti. Okay, so it's a pension plan. So there are two options. One is you can take an immediate annuity. So if you are already a corporate, you are already retired, you can you know you can buy that annuity from there. And one is a deferred annuity. So you pay a premium till number of years. Now, annuity plan, the benefit is that it does give you a fixed income for the lifetime. And the second is because it's a fixed income, the income is guaranteed. Now, there are two disadvantages in an annuity plan. Though in Jeevan, LIC Jeevan Shanti, we worked out it hovers around somewhere around 6% from the product. So when you are buying a pension plan, you need to factor in two things. One, the annuity is not, or the pension is not inflation indexed. So inflation is not factored in. Whatever money pension you will receive, it is a fixed pension lifetime. So the same pension you will receive for the lifetime. Now you need to decide whether no, the money you are receiving today might not fulfill the requirement after 10-15 years, that income would fall short of. Second, annuity is not tax free, it's taxable. So because somebody with a 30% tax slab, even a 7% return will come down to 5%. So these pension plans, even if you think of buying these pension plans, uh, under just look at these factors. Do not rely on these pension plans completely. It can form part of that monthly requirement, because the inflation and taxes are two factors you have to address, and that's where it falls short of. You should rely on pension income, but probably when you are planning for that lifetime generation of income, there has to be a mix of a pension plan, annuity plan, plus other avenues which can generate a higher income for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Which are the companies offering health insurances for special needs? They want to know, sir.
Special needs, again there are so many disabilities. Now as of now, I have seen only two disabilities which are covered from health insurance. One is mental retardation, so you will find health insurance companies, New India Assurance, giving insurance to mental retardation also. The other one which has recently come up is autism. So for autism, there are two companies which are providing. One is Star Health. They have product called Special Care. You get a coverage up to 3 lakh. And the other one is Relier Health, where they have a product called Freedom Care for Diabetes. In that, they are covering autism. But the difference between these two is that the Relier Health, uh, in the autism policy, they are not covering any hospitalization due to autism. Anything apart from autism, any hospitalization expenses apart from autism, they will cover in that policy. But they will not cover anything related to autism. So there's a difference between these two, and only these two are the only companies which are covering autism as of now. Otherwise, largely health insurance companies are not covering special needs children as of now.
Okay, sir. Okay, you mean to say only these two companies are providing? Okay.
Yes, only these two companies are providing coverage for autism.
Okay, sir. Shall we go to the next one, sir? Is there a health insurance
Yeah.
scheme giving better benefits for special needs? A lot we spend on therapies, but none is being covered under insurance. Also, any government schemes for investment with better interest for special need child, like the one they have for a girl child? They just want to know about this one.
Okay. So first of all, health insurance. I focus on the health insurance. Okay. Some so Star Health and Relier are the two which are covering for autism. What was the second part of the question?
So second part of the question was like they want to know any government schemes for investment with better interest for special need. They have just like for the girl child and all, they have the special government schemes, no sir. In the same way, they
No,
want to know whether they have any
no
government
central.
schemes for investment.
Okay. For investment, you do not have any special products for special children families. There are no special products as of now. There used to be two from LIC long time back. They were withdrawn in 2014. But as of now, you do not have any products specifically for special children families. So you have to invest in products which are available, PPF, equities, or small savings schemes, but no special products.
Okay, okay, sir. Thanks for that. Can you suggest any other investment avenues like government bonds, MFS, etc.?
MFS. What is MFS?
Um, Parent, can you please come on mic and say that one? Who has asked that question? Can you suggest any other investment
Yeah,
avenues like government bonds and MFS?
thank you, sir. I was referring to mutual funds and equity portion. If anything linked with mutual funds, debt mutual funds. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So again, mutual funds is a very wide basket. So I cannot name a specific scheme as of now because the schemes also there are different categories in mutual funds. It is very difficult to give you any particular scheme. You actually need to sit down with an advisor and create an investment portfolio with mutual funds. So there would be different categories of debt mutual funds. There are different categories of equity mutual funds. Which of these categories suit your goal horizon, your financial requirements? You need to create an investment portfolio with that. So there are schemes available for creating an emergency fund. There are schemes available for investing for long term as long as 10-15 years only from debt mutual fund also. So what is your financial goal? How much is your holding period? What is your requirement? Based on that, you need to choose the mutual fund scheme. So I cannot name any specific now. As I said, you will have to actually sit down with the advisor and understand what are the mutual fund schemes available to you.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. There is another question. Is it advisable to open a PPF account in name of minor for disabled child, minor disabled child?
Yes, you open a PPF account in the name of your child. One is it's a long term, and there is one more benefit, income tax benefit you get. So if your child is minor, special child is minor. Now income tax has a provision that if there is any income earned by the minor, it generally gets clubbed with the parent. But when you have a special needs child, and if the special child is minor, any income earned by the minor does not get clubbed with the parent. You can actually create a separate tax file for the minor child. So suppose I am into 30% tax bracket. I have fixed deposit. Now I am paying 30% tax on the interest. I have got a special child who is minor. I can give the fixed deposit to my child. He starts earning interest on that, and he starts paying income tax on that because you can create a separate tax file for him. So that is the benefit is available. PPF account, it's a long-term investment. You can very well create a PPF account. You can invest in the PPF in the name of your minor. So there is no problem in that. Yes, when the child becomes a major, then probably you will have to change the status. You will have to take a legal guardianship, and the account will be in the name of the child under the legal guardianship.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you for that. Um, I have two kids, one with special need. Is it possible to include my son in the trust and allow my son to take care the assets after the lifetime of assets for the lifetime of my daughter? For the lifetime of my daughter.
Sorry, come
I
again on
have,
the question. What is the
yes,
question?
sure, sir, sure. I have two kids with one special need. Is it possible to include
Yeah.
my son in the trust and allow my son to take care of the assets for the lifetime of my daughter? They mean to ask, they can include the son in the trust to take care of their daughter for lifetime. So that's what they meant, I believe.
Okay.
Just a
See,
minute.
trust generally.
Mr.
Yes,
Soran,
ma'am.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
she's trying to say that she want to include her son in the trust and allow my son to
Hmm.
take care of the assets after the lifetime of my daughter. Maybe the daughter is special need. If the parent is there, I think they can come up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll answer
Parent,
that. So in a private trust
Yeah,
structure,
right. Hello, my daughter is special need one. I wanted to include my son as
yeah.
part of the trust, and after the lifetime of my daughter, until the lifetime of daughter, my son should not be able to do anything with the assets. She needs to get whatever constant income. After the lifetime, I want the properties or assets to go to my son. So, is it a provision to work out that way?
Yes. That's a solution probably that if you create a trust. Now, if you create a trust, it becomes a separate legal entity. Whatever assets you transfer to the trust, nobody can lay a claim on, not even your son. Even the legal heirs cannot also lay a claim on those assets. So if you transfer the assets to the trust, then those assets become secure, and the trust will only work for your daughter expenses, for your daughter financial care. Now your son can be included in the trust as a trustee, and the trustees can be anybody from outside the world. So there is no foundation on the trustee. So the trustee will manage only the assets and the trust deed requirement. And as I said, you can once the assets are transferred to the trust, and so it becomes the property of the trust. And whatever you have laid down in the trust deed, the asset will be managed accordingly. So the trust objective is only to manage your daughter financial affairs. Trust will manage the financial affairs on those assets lying in the trust. Nobody can lay a claim on that.
No, after my daughter's lifetime, can trust hand over that assets to my son?
Okay. Yes, you can do, because when you are creating a trust deed, you have to actually specify that after your daughter's lifetime, the asset of the trust deed will go to whom. So it can go back to your son also. That can happen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question is, any insurance scheme available for special need which will provide a regular income after the insurance period?
Okay. Insurance, again, you have only, see, the regular income lifetime provision is there only in the annuity schemes or the pension plan. That's the only product which can provide a lifetime regular income. Apart from that, other insurance products are generally your investment products where you get a cash value of that. So largely it's the annuity policy. And annuity, it's not that you need to start investing in them today. You can always accumulate money till you require the regular income, and then with that purpose you can buy the annuity which we have spoken in the beginning. That annuity is the only product which can provide a regular income till your lifetime. But there are, as I said, there are always concerns with respect to annuities. Those have to be addressed. So first is inflation and the second is taxation. If you are able to address these two, annuity is the product which can provide a regular income. Now there is a deferred annuity product also, where you can start investing now, and after a period it will start giving you a monthly pension for the lifetime of your child.
Okay, sir. Okay. The next one is, sir, are the congenital issues, I mean, the special needs arising from birth due to genetic issues covered under insurance? They just want to know.
Genetic issues, again, and I'll answer that because genetic disorders, I'm speaking of genetic disorders. So genetic disorders were not covered by health insurance companies. They are generally excluding it. Now there is already a court case which is going on. So the Delhi High Court has given a ruling last year where they said the genetic disorders should be covered by health insurance companies. Now the matter is with Supreme Court. I am expecting it that genetic disorders companies will start covering it. The court will probably rule in the favor of that. So it still matters with Supreme Court. There is a court case already going. In the question you have asked, there is already a court case going on there.
Okay, okay. So we have to wait. Okay. How can we appoint a trustee or guardian for a special need child with no siblings?
Quickly. Okay. Uh, First of all, there is no foundation on the trustee. It's not necessary it has to be a family member. The trustees can be a friend, they can be a family member, relatives, or there are professional trustees also. So much like you have professional like chartered accountant or professional others, there are professional trustees also whom you can appoint as a trustee, and their job is to manage your trust. So it's not, if the child does not have a sibling, look at people outside from your family, look at professional trustees, look at friends, So you can have mix of or you can have mix of family member and a professional trustees. So trustees can be anybody. There is no foundation of trustee that has to be from the sibling. You can appoint anybody as a trustee, and there are companies who offer professional trusteeship services. So you can appoint them as a professional trustee in your trust, and they will take care of it.
Okay, sir. Sir, Dwan, there is a last question. My son is a US citizen, autistic, single child. We should need to plan across countries. Do you or someone else does it?
Rohit, I'll need a bit clarification. What exactly is your question?
So, sir, the child is 15 years and he's a US citizen.
Yeah.
So but I'm not a US citizen. So the investments that I make usually are within India, and I mean the house, my houses, my apartment, whatever are within India, through which he can get an income. The Indian government doesn't support much, but the US government does support disability. So it has to be a mix of what he can get from here, what he can get from there, and where should and how can we maximize.
Mhm. So you are probably asking that investing money in India and supporting your son in US from the assets in India, right?
Yeah, wherever he gets the best, sir. That's so like I can transfer money to US
So
the
see,
way I want,
there are
right?
two aspects to it. See, from India you can transfer the money, but there are again foreign remittance regulation. There are RBI regulations on that. So within that RBI, within those regulations, you can transfer the money to US. There is no problem in that. But there are restrictions, there are limitations. How much money you can transfer on a yearly basis? How much money you can remit? You can also create a structure where the assets in India, you can create a private you can have a private trust in India, and the private trust can manage the financials and bring your child in US. It's
Mm.
not going to be as easy, the transferring of money, because as I said, the RBI also comes into picture now. So if it is within those RBI regulations, within that RBI regulation, you can transfer money. So there is a limitation how much money you can transfer, from Indian assets, how much money you can remit. So after paying taxes and all those. But yes, that can happen. That can work.
Yeah, so for
Some
example,
legality comes out, from that.
instead of buying a house or an
Yeah.
apartment in India, I buy it in US so that he can get hold of that rent instead of making an asset. So that kind of mix needs to be.
Yeah, it depends on the objective. If your child is going to stay in US, okay, and after you also he's going to stay in US and you are not coming to India and he's not shifting to India, then probably doing most of the planning from US will work. Okay, because as I said, from Indian perspective, uh, from India, you have limitations, and there are two countries involved in it. Right? US has some stricter regulations. So generally in India, when we are planning for US citizens, there is a lot of regulations comes in between from both the sides. Okay, so it totally depends on your long-term objective. If your long-term is there in the future at some time, you might shift to India, or after your child shifts to India, then building up assets in India does make sense. Buying properties in India does make sense. But if your long-term objective is stay in US, your child is going to be in US, then probably buying properties in US will make more sense.
Yes. That would probably we'd know how he does
So it all,
in another five
yes,
eight
so
years.
it all
How
depends on the objective you have.
uh, sure.
So again, probably we'll have to sit down personally on this, and we'll look
Yeah,
at
we can.
what do you want to keep. Then only I can advise on this.
Yes, sir. Please share your contact and we will sit down personally.
Sure, sure. I'll do that.
Hey, sir. Sir, thank you so much. And thanks for the valuable time. Um, uh, one more
I'll
time.
answer one more question.
Yes, sir.
I'll answer one more question which is come in the chat. Okay. I'll answer
Oh, I
one
didn't
more
see that.
question
I'm so
which has
sorry. I'm
come up
so
in the
sorry.
chat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please. So they
Okay,
have
so
asked like, can a US citizen be a
it's from
trustee
Suma Bhaskar.
in trust for my daughter? That question, sir. Did I miss that one?
Oh my love.
Yes, I think this one and upper one. First one was, can you please provide reference for any professional trustees? So yes, there are professional trustees as of now working in India, and we are also coming up with a trusteeship services maybe by the end of September. So we can provide those references to the families who are the professional trustees, and you can contact us also, me also, for the trusteeship services. Second is, can a US citizen be a trustee in the trust for my daughter? No, a US citizen or NRIs cannot be a trustee. US citizen cannot be a trustee. NRIs, the law says that in India, the law says that if a trustee is abroad for more than 6 months, then you have to replace it. So it's very difficult to continue NRIs as a trustee if they are the only trustees, or it's only one resident Indian, one NRI. Largely, majority of the trustees in Indian trust have to be resident Indian. That answers